What's up, everybody? I hope you can hear me. This is Conrad back from many years of, I don't know, break? Sabbatical? Something like that. Um, for anyone that is still somehow subscribed to this channel, it's good to be speaking to you again. There's probably still very few of you that are watching that fit that category, but for those of you who don't know, several years ago, like I think 6 years ago, made some videos on nursing school, getting into nursing school, and then pivoting to applying to medical school. Obviously, as you can tell, I didn't keep up with the videos. Things got very busy. I never picked them up again. But, I was driving home yesterday, and I thought to myself, I really like closure and updates and things like that. And so I thought maybe I'd make just a short video that just has recapped the last 6 years for anyone that is curious to know what happened, I guess, during that time. And the title to the video is true, honestly. I really did achieve my dreams, thankfully. Not just the ones I originally set out to accomplish. There, several came along the way during that 6-year period that I never thought I would have. I'm a very different guy than I was back then. Yeah, so this is video kind of just to catch up where I am today. I'll probably have a host of sidebar thoughts along the way, maybe hopefully a couple pieces of wisdom scattered throughout. So we'll see. So recap, if I remember everything. I can't remember exactly where I left off on my last video, but I think it was probably before I applied to medical school, something like that. First sidebar. I know I gave up on the videos, and I'm sorry for those that liked them and enjoyed them. I have given up on so many things, so many passions. I've not followed through on a whole host of things that I do. And that used to bother me a lot. I'd get really excited about something, and I'd pour myself into it, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do for my life, And then, I don't know, for one reason or another, out of boredom, out of busy scheduling, or finances, it just doesn't pan out. And right now, I'm kind of in the state of mind that that's kind of okay, that you start and give up on things that aren't major, like little passions, little hobbies. Because to me, it's kind of like if I have this behavior of continually trying to produce things, create things, engage in things, engage in the world, then that's okay. That I'm putting myself out there, even if it's not videos, or even if it's writing or art or something like that, even if they don't pan out all the time. So I don't feel as bad about it as I used to. I did kind of, it's funny, because I had like no subscribers and nothing, on this YouTube channel, but I still somehow felt like the pull to put things out, to like, have this persona, because like med influencers are a big thing. Med school influencers are kind of a big deal. And I kind of had this pull to be that person, and it felt a little inauthentic, and I stopped enjoying it. And whenever I stop enjoying something, it's hard to continue, for sure. Anyways, okay. Picking up from, I think the last video was like the year I applied to med school or something. Anyways, I did apply. How that went, I submitted the application, all my letters and everything felt pretty good. I did my interview, and I'll tell you the truth, it did not go as I'd hoped it would. Everyone was telling me, I only applied to one school, just to my in-state program, and everyone was telling me, yeah, it's just a nice conversation, some back and forth, it should last around like 45 minutes. I felt like I still had a good application, but my interview did not go as I wished. Probably some was me, probably some was the interviewers I had. It didn't last very long. It's like 25 minutes. I tried to like keep conversation going, but it wasn't really panning out. So I remember exiting the interview and getting on the phone with one of my buddies, and then later calling my wife and being like, I don't think that went good. Like, I don't think it panned out very good. And so, anyways, still had a good application. I felt really good about my grades, felt pretty good about my MCAT score as well. My letters were good. Work experience was solid. And it's funny, during this time, kind of, it was kind of a pivotal time. There was a little bit of tension between my wife and I, specifically on when to start trying to have a family, because I had taken a gap year and a half essentially on switching from nursing school and getting all these prereqs and things like that. Going back to undergrad to get some chemistry classes done. So we were a little later in the game. I was of the mindset like, hey, I want to be settled. I want to be in school. I like to be after step one because that exam is terrifying. Because I was worried about having study time and balancing, the responsibility of fatherhood, parenthood, all that stuff. And obviously my wife, she wanted to start having children. She's not getting any younger as well, and we can't hold off our life forever. So there's a little bit of tension. And so we kind of unsettled on the idea of after step one, if everything was going well. And anyways, fast forward a few months, it's like February, and that's whenever the letters go out, and I'm stressed out. And oh man, I was helping out at kind of like a summer camp weekend thing with my church, and I thought that I was like, thinking like this is probably gonna be the weekend that it's coming in, and my wife gave me a call, and she's on the phone, and she told me, through tears that the letter came in, but I didn't get in. I was rejected, no wait list, nothing, just rejected from my in-state school, and so that was tough. I mean, that was really hard, and I don't think it quite hit me at the time. I actually I told some of my guys I was working with at the camp. I said, "Hey, I just need to drive for a couple hours," and so I drove and I parked at this gas station, kind of outside of this town, and I remember sitting there for like 3 hours just texting all my friends, all my family, "Hey, I didn't get in. Just wanted to let you know if you hear something." Don't really know what I'm doing yet. I just didn't get in, and it was tough, man. It was tough just sitting there thinking about it and thinking like, I don't know what went wrong. Obviously the interview, I guess, didn't do me so good, but I don't know. It's tough. It's like you get rejected, and it's like, are you gonna try again and wait another year? You've already kind of pushed your timeline back. You're already older than a lot of people doing this, a little bit, not super old, but didn't know the next step. It kind of threw off our entire plan for family planning as well. Um, anyways, decided to reapply. It was nice that the school I applied to, they allowed the opportunity for you to call, and kind of go over your application and see what could be improved, things like that. So I did that, and they gave me a couple tips. Honestly, how it went was the person on the phone was like, well, your grades are good. You don't need to go back and take more classes to improve your GPA. She said your MCAT's good. It's competitive. She said, honestly, go shadow some more. Go get some more experience around physicians. She said the interview didn't go good, particularly. She told me apply again, and I think you'll have some luck. And so I decided to do that. I did what I could to improve my application. I did some more volunteering, saw some other doctors, things like that. But it was tough, because it's like, am I just submitting the same application again? Anyways, decided to reapply, and time came around. I did the interview process again. It was during COVID and all this, so interview was virtual. It went much better. I mean, just worlds different, and so everyone was nice. There was a medical student, a fourth year medical student, that was in my interview part of the process, and he was great. He really kind of vouched for me a little bit, even though he didn't know me. He was just like on my side during the process. The faculty that I met with were great, so it was good. I felt a lot better about this interview. But time went on, and it was actually January, and I guess, sorry, backtracking. Whenever I was in that gas station parking lot texting everyone, it was a few hours later, my wife texted me and said, "Hey, what does this do about us having kids?" And at the time, it's funny, I was in a really weak place, and so I just said, "Whatever you want to do, I don't care. We can have kids right now if you want. It doesn't matter to me." And so I think she must have caught me at the right time. And so actually, it was that next January. Sorry, I had to cut right there, actually, because of what I'm talking about. But that next January, we just started we decided to try and start having kids. And that next January, we welcomed our first girl into the world, our kid. And so it was January, we had our baby, and then it was February I was going to find out if I got accepted or rejected, you know. So that was a stressful time because I was like, I don't have any backup, you know. I was joking around with the idea that I was like, maybe if I don't get in, I'll go fly jets for the military or something. That wasn't a realistic or grounded idea, you know. People can't just do that, you know. But that was my mindset. I was like, I've got to do something that sounds as awesome or is as awesome as being a physician, you know. And I remember the day it came in. We were out to dinner with my dad, my stepmom that came, into town, and I heard from a friend of mine that was applying that same year that he got his letter, he got accepted, and I was like, okay, I was like, it's definitely at home, it's definitely there. So we drove home that night after dinner, and I remember like just thinking, oh, this is gonna be tough if it's another rejection. Anyways, pulled out the letter, accepted. I mean, no wait list, just accepted right through. It was awesome. I was stoked. It was just a huge sigh of relief. I knew that, like, hey, I'm going to have some student loan money to support my family, during medical school, which was great. But yeah, it was huge. It was a huge blessing. I didn't have to consider anything else, didn't have to consider flying jets or anything like that. I started later that summer with school, loved it. Classes were engaging. Studying was tough, obviously with a baby it was challenging, but I was doing well. I was really engaged. I was excited. It's just, the first year of medical school, your eyes are opened. I compare it to like Hogwarts. You're in this world that no one else really gets to see if you're not in the medical field, and you just see all these incredible things that we do to help people, and you're going to be able to take part in it and be a part of it. The diversity is incredible. You have people from all over the world that are sharing their experiences, their background, and it's great. And so I was just I was in it. I thought I was in Hogwarts, literally. It's like you walk in, Harry like sees all this magic. That's what I was like. You're looking at radiology stuff. You're saying, oh, this is what we do here, in this, and so it was awesome. I loved it. Was doing really well. In the summer, between my first and second year of medical school, we found out that we were expecting another kiddo. So it was actually later that year. This is in my second year. It was actually my dedicated month of studying for the step 1 exam whenever we delivered our second girl. And that was a hard time. That was probably the hardest time for me in medical school. Step 1 was just a very hard test for me to study for. I ended up even pushing my exam back a couple weeks because I didn't feel comfortable taking it yet. My scores weren't like quite lining up where I felt like I needed to be safe to pass it. And I'll tell you the truth, whenever I took the exam, that's the hardest exam I've ever taken. I've had several exams since then. That exam is hard. Even though they changed it from being scored to pass fail, that was a very hard test. I remember leaving the test center that day of taking it thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be a physician. I don't know if I can pass this exam, even though I just took it. I was like, I don't know if I did it. So I was stressed out about that. I thought I'd be relieved after taking the test, but I was just more stressed until I got this, the result back. Thankfully, I did pass it. Huge wave of relief. I mean, just huge wave. Still the hardest exam I've ever taken, of course. So yeah, I was able to move into my third year, which was our clinical stuff. Got to see some really incredible things. I got to be on some really good internal medicine services. I did a rotation in plastic surgery, trauma surgery. My pediatrics rotation was great. All of them were great. But it was tough. We had a newborn at home and another young kid, so it was a difficult time. More difficult for my wife. Another sidebar: I couldn't have done anything without my wife. I mean, could not have done a thing. She alone provided the margin for me to study, the space for me to study and do well, keeping up with the girls. She was going through her own kind of career transformation during this process at the same time. And so her doing that, I couldn't have done any of that without her. I couldn't have done as well as I did. And kind of a two-part sidebar here is I really did find that there was a huge strength associated with having a family in medical school. You know, at first you think, how do you have all this time? I was even commuting to school like 45 minutes whenever I had to go up there. And so people are asking, like, how do you even do it? And the good thing was, one, I knew exactly how many hours I had during the day. You know, I knew for sure that once 5:30, 6 o'clock hit, I was done. I was done studying. So, because I had to be at home and try and help out as good as I could, which I did at worse times than other. You know, it still bleeds into your family life a little bit. But I was very motivated whenever I was at school to study and get things done, and that helped a lot. Also, a big advantage is I knew kind of what I wanted, what sort of life I wanted, kind of not exactly the specialty I wanted, but the sort of lifestyle I wanted with my family, because I had a lot of friends in school that were like, yeah, you know, we plan on having kids after residency and stuff. And I remember explicitly telling them, like, you need to seriously think about what kind of lifestyle you want and how that's going to affect your specialty choice. Because I will tell you, I was not at all concerned about spending enough time at home or having family time. I thought I would have enough no matter what specialty. I was like, oh, as long as I love what I'm doing, I don't care if I'm at the hospital all the time. You know, if I'm general surgery or orthopedic surgery or something cool like that, I can do that and have a family, no problem. But once I actually had kids, you know, there were times I was like, I just want to be home and play with Legos. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in the hospital for this long. So for me, there were some specialties that were just off the table, you know. Orthopedic surgery, not, I probably could not have gotten into that anyway, but general surgery was kind of off the table. I really loved obstetrics and gynecology. I considered that for a little bit, but the lifestyle was kind of tough, amongst other things. And so that was able to give me a great perspective into what kind of life I wanted, you know, and what specialties kind of fit that. Because I'll tell you the truth, and maybe not everybody's like this, but for me, I'm still very passionate about medicine. I think it's an incredible field. It's very engaging. It's very stimulating. You have the opportunity to provide an incredible impact for people. I think the best opportunity, truly, and I'm excited about doing all that. But I will say, at the end of the day, a job, no matter how cool it is, becomes a job, you know. And I felt that even though I am still impassionate about medicine and what I'll be doing, um, there might be a day that I find interest in other things more enlightening, you know, that maybe I just go to work because it's work and I do my best because I have a job to do and there's a high impact associated with the job. But there are other things that kind of keep me going, you know, my family being one of them, my relationship with my wife, my friends. And so I wanted to have that. I knew I wanted to have that. So that was a great perspective. And I hope, and it's kind of a shame that it's not, that you can't really know it until you have it, that you might want this time. So I hope that my friends that picked some of those harder specialties are able to navigate that better than probably I would, but I was thankful to have that. So anyways, year 3 went by, very busy clinical year in a ton of rotations, got to see a lot of great things, got to meet incredible patients, incredible doctors, watch my classmates really do great things. It was great. And then I was gearing up to take step 2, which is after your 3rd year. Really, really important exam between your 3rd and 4th year. It essentially, how well you do on it, essentially decides which specialties you can apply to based on your score. And I studied hard for it. It went much better than step 1. The studying was, I felt like I knew, you know, what I was talking about. I did really well on the exam. I was so thankful. I scored better than I even thought I could. I mean, a huge blessing. I was stressed out. I remember I was in the OR actually with a resident, and I got the email on my phone that my score was ready. I said, hey man, can I just go check on this real quick? And he was like, I don't even know why you came in today. Like, this is a big deal. You should be at home on your computer looking at your step score, not in here. And so I went and I found like a random bathroom somewhere and just sat in there, and I was shaking, you know, on my phone to figure out what my score was. And I saw it, and I saw the score, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, wait a second, is this my score report? Is there another Conrad that they misspelled my name or something? But it was me. So I don't know, maybe they gave me someone else's score, and I'm going to take it though. But I was very happy to do well on that. I felt much better coming out of that exam. I felt like I actually kind of knew some of that stuff. So that was a huge blessing. Really felt confident going into like applying for residency and interviewing and knowing like, hey, you have some, you're competitive for this. So that was nice. So fourth year began, and started filling out my application for residency. Bit of a stressful time after I submitted my application, because then you're just waiting. You submit your scores, your grades, personal statement, letters of recommendation, kind of similar to the AMCAS system a little bit, and then you wait for interviews to start pouring in. Hopefully you get some. If you look around on online forums, people are saying, hey, I got this interview, I got this one, and you're like, where's mine? Anyways, but interviews started coming in. Places that I was really interested in going for residency, started meeting virtually with some of these programs and people. There's a lot of great options. I was like, wow, I could do well at any of these places. So it was an exciting time to think about like, hey, I finally feel kind of wanted in a way. And it felt, I'll tell you, it felt great to be competitive, I guess, not in a prideful sense, but just all of the work of the first 2 years of preclinical work, all those grades and hours of studying, the step 2 score, the studying for step 1 and passing it on the first try, all of that coming together to feel like you have a complete and solid good application. That felt good. Even if I didn't match, or even if I didn't get the place I wanted, knowing that I wouldn't change anything of how I studied in medical school. Maybe step 1 I would have, prepared a little more, prepared differently. But honestly, I did as good, I did better than I thought I was going to be able to do. So I was thankful for that. I mean, just that felt good. And hopefully to have a little bit of choice in the matter of where I went for residency. So I actually finished up interviews earlier this year, back in January. And whole lot of other things go on. You submit a preference list basically of where you want to go, and where you wanted to match, and then you just wait like a month or two, and then they throw all that information, like where you want to go and what programs, what applicants they liked. They throw all that information to an algorithm, and it spits out matches, and so I remember I was back at work because I had a lot of time in fourth year. Fourth year is great. It's incredible. I had a lot of time left over basically, and we needed, to get a little more money just to make it through until residency. And so I started working back at Chick-fil-A, where I worked in undergrad for like 6 years. And I went back and worked there because I was thinking like, I'm only going to be here hopefully for 4 months, if I match and start residency. What job is going to let me train just to work for 4 months? And so I was thinking, I was like, hey, maybe I could go back and work at Chick-fil-A. And so that's what I did. I went back and worked in the kitchen, fried chicken, made burritos, and it was awesome. It was fun. The people I worked with were incredible. I mean, I loved it. They were so welcoming, so nice, great people. And so I had a good time. And I remember I was sitting there working one morning, and I knew it was the day that our email was going to come in to see if we matched or not. And mine came in, and I'm kind of shaking again. This is a recurring theme of looking at your phone for some result. And I saw that I matched, and huge wave of relief, and I felt like I was going to, because I felt good. I had enough interviews to feel comfortable matching. But and so that was great. And I matched. I was excited. Later that week, you find out where you match. So it's a different process. You find out that you matched on a Monday, then on a Friday you find out where. So we went to like the match day ceremony, and I got to have some family there, and my 2 girls were there, and my wife was there, and everything. We're around all of our whole classmates, and they do the countdown, and you open up your letter to see where you match. And I was, so it was exciting. Found out I matched at my #1 program, which was great. I thought I would land somewhere 4 or 5, but I was so stoked to get my #1 program. Matched in my chosen specialty, thankfully, which was anesthesiology. So I was stoked. I'm stoked now to be, fast forward to now, my wife and I live in a new city with our girls. We're away from family, but I just completed my first week of residency as a resident physician. Really excited about becoming an anesthesiologist with the training. Just stoked, honestly. And believe it or not, we're about to welcome our 3rd daughter. literally in just a couple days. So that's the time that I'm filming this. We've been busy, and I'm gonna get busier. So it's a busy time, but all it's good. It's all been incredible. And so this idea of dreams coming true, all that's happened to me. I've gotten everything that I wanted. Um, I'm very grateful for it. Every dream of mine that I had came through going to medicine. Like, sure, I didn't get in the first time, um, but even that made way for me to have to see other things, to have other dreams come true, of being a father, of doing well, of doing better in medical school as a father than I would have without it, without having my children. So I don't know. Sidebar right here that I have written down is sorry, I'm back. My very pregnant wife was in the room, so I spoke to her for a second. So sidebar. I have found, truthfully, that you can have every dream of yours come true. Um, you can have your plans, you can have it set out, and you can be surprised that it wasn't all that you hoped it would be. I'm very excited about residency and becoming an anesthesiologist. Really excited about the work that I'm going to be able to do, the options that it has opened up for me and my family. But to tell you the truth, when I look back on the last several years, this whole 6 year period from this video from the last one, a couple things that have stuck out to me aren't really related at all to medicine. Of course, my daughters, 2 almost 3, the challenge, and the joy of parenthood. Just being very thankful to have a family and the responsibility that I have as that. People say when you have kids, you see yourself differently, and that's been absolutely true. I see my faults glaringly when I have kids, and so that's been a challenge. It's been good, though. It's been good for me. It's been good for our family, and I'm just thankful to be able to provide for them. And I'll say this, not to talk too much about money, but it is important. My grandparents, a lot of times, back in that time, you could live on single income families, and that's not really the case for the majority of Americans nowadays. A lot of people have to have dual income, unless you're going to give up a lot, and that's kind of been us. My wife has carried us through financially, alongside my student loans during school. But I am thankful, to be in the United States practicing, to have that kind of security, to be able to provide for my family, allow my wife to stay home if she desires with the kids. And not everyone gets that advantage. Most people don't. And so I'm really thankful to have that. And again, to be practicing in the United States where that's the case. Granted, I do have an exorbitant amount of student loans to pay back. So, I do feel that that decision, whenever I withdrew from nursing school, I look at that decision now as gambling with myself, taking an investment on myself. You're basically saying, hey, you're putting all your chips in yourself here. If it doesn't pan out, you're going to be in the hole for a little bit. And putting all my chips in that basket and it paying off so far. So that's been great to see that one day, especially after these 4 years of residency at least, that it will pay off in that way. Another thing, my wife, she went through a transition of her own during this time, switching careers, I think I had mentioned earlier. And so it was a big one. And it's been great to see her grow from that and to see the things she's been able to do, her be able to stay at home with our kids and still keep up starting her own business, and just see her thrive, to see our marriage thrive, us grow together through that kind of adversity, us to be on the same team. And there's nothing in the world that comes close to having a partnership, having a marriage to where you both are in it forever. I have so much security in my marriage that I don't think, even before being a physician, because she was with me before everything, that she's going to stick with me and then I'm going to stick with her. So that's huge. Another thing, my friends, I made some great friends in medical school, some that really pushed me, some that really built my faith. I mean, one of them has moved off far away for residency, but really thankful to them. Um, we grew a lot together during that time. I also, kind of cultivated some friendships I already had before medical school. Um, some friends that aren't in the medical field that I've just been friends with forever from working at Chick-fil-A in the undergrad period of time. Actually, before moving, I was honored to serve as the best man in my best friend's wedding. And so doing that, doing the best man speech was so awesome, so much fun. It was a great moment to kind of end that time in that state. And so that was great. And just to be very thankful to have those friends. And I do want to talk about the spiritual side of things a little bit. I would be dishonest to withhold kind of my faith from this conversation. So full disclosure, I am a Christian. I'm very aware that I view the world a certain way, likely very different from a lot of people, and similar to a lot as well. But just I say that to take what I'm saying with grains of salt, of course. But I will say that I really don't deserve the blessings in my life at all. My family, my friends, my occupation, the opportunities I have. I will say I've worked very hard over the last 6 years. I've worked very hard, and I'm proud of my work. I am. My wife has worked very hard for all of us, but I will say it seems to me that God has placed opportunities in my life. I don't know why. I haven't deserved them, but I've been able to cooperate with them through my efforts, through my hard work, and that's kind of led to where we are today. And I'm very aware that I do not deserve these opportunities that I've gotten. And I'm very aware that most people have not gotten the opportunities that I've gotten. There's a lot of people that have had to work a lot harder than I have. And there are some that have not had to work as hard, to make up that ground. I didn't have any physicians in my family. Some of my friends have had physicians, and maybe, their barriers to get into certain spaces were a little less, or to get some opportunities were a little less. But I'm very aware that there are people that have some incredible life stories that are making their way into medicine, and we absolutely need them. And so I'm aware of that. I don't really know what to do with that, I guess. I will say what I can do is just be thankful and to pour more of myself into thanksgiving and devotion to God and to Christ for giving me this opportunity to have a wonderful family, to be able to lead my family well, hopefully, as I continue to kind of grow in that, to be able to become a physician, be worthy of that calling, to have the honor of treating patients at very vulnerable times of their life and understand the weight of that responsibility. And so I'm very thankful to that, and I take that very seriously, as well as doing exactly what I can, what I was given, to provide those opportunities to students, to others that I had and that they may not have, to make some space for others to come and shadow, to come and get letters of recommendation, ways to do well, to get the right study materials for the MCAT or whatever, and to provide for that gap, And so, especially for those that have had more hardship than I have, I was able to serve. I talked about that medical student during my interview process. I was able to do the same thing in my fourth year, which is great. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to. And there's specifically one individual that I met that just had an incredible life story. I mean, just the distance traveled was, I don't know, it was mind blowing to hear. And we need those people, and they're hard to find because they don't have the same opportunities and advantages that I've had. So, kind of lastly, just want to recap and say that, man, dreams do come true. They have for me, like more than I could imagine. I'm not even 30. I turned 31 this year, and so I've lived such a good life already, and I can't believe it. I wake up, I think about this every single day. I do not understand why my life is as good as I feel it to be. I have not done anything to deserve it. I have worked hard, but I mean, I'm just thankful to have the opportunities that I've had. And so I will say dreams do come true. They do happen. And all I can say is work hard. I don't know, maybe I'm a little gifted intellectually or something, but man, hard work makes up for a multitude of that. Like, you can get so far with good quality studying, hard work, being a nice person, the basic things. That stuff, it works in the world. It really does. And I would say try to press forward. Like, try to engage yourself in the world or whatever sphere you're in, whatever ladder you want to climb, if you want to climb ladders, Um, engage with that and press yourself in that. You cannot, I will say, you can't sit back and expect people to hand you opportunities. It will not happen. It will not. And so you really have to press yourself forward. You have to insert yourself in these spaces and essentially take them. Be kind. Don't be a ruthless competitor, but if you're gonna invest in yourself, you've got to be able to do the work, do the heavy lifting, and put yourself in those positions. So do that. Um, I will say I very likely won't be making videos. This probably isn't a I'm back kind of a thing, unless something really weird happens. But I will say I'm doing some writing on Substack when I have time. I was able to write a few creative writing pieces for my medical school's creative writing online journal, so that was great. If you're interested, maybe I'll include that down there in the whatever link thing. And man, again, thank you to those that somehow are still subscribed to this channel from back in the day. You guys did give me a lot of motivation. I had a lot of fun while I was doing it. And I don't know, all I could say is just good luck. Go and do some cool things. Let this video just be a reminder to you that, like, it does happen. Like, you can have these huge dreams, and through a day-by-day process of working hard and trying to find the opportunities in the world and take them, and just cooperate, for me, cooperating with God to do those things. I don't know, it's exciting. Go do cool things. Go do that stuff. So anyways, again, just wanted to provide an update video. And so yeah, I'm gonna continue on this road. I don't know. We'll see what it's like in the next 4 to 6 years. See where I am, but I can't believe that I'm here. So awesome. Good luck. Again, go do cool things. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.